Am I the jerk for staying no contact with my mother, even though she's going through a hard time? Hi, I'm you slash two jobs and done. I'm 27 in my third year of college, and I work two jobs to cover tuition and bills. I rent a tiny one-bedroom apartment, live on instant noodles, and dream of the day I graduate and can finally breathe. I haven't spoken to my mother in almost 6 years, and I don't regret it for a second. But apparently, some people think I'm heartless because I won't be there for her now that she's struggling. The thing is, my mother has been nothing but trouble for me my entire life. Her hard time is of her own making, and I have zero interest in being pulled back into her chaos. Here's the background. When I was 11, my mom remarried. My new stepdad had two kids from a previous marriage, and within a couple of years, he and my mom had another baby together. Suddenly, I was the oldest of four. And because I was about 7 years older than the next youngest, guess who became the built-in babysitter, cook, maid, and errand runner? From day one, I was expected to do everything. Laundry, cooking dinner for six, helping with homework, cleaning the house top to bottom, changing diapers. My mom would say she was focusing on her marriage and deserved to rest. My stepdad didn't see me as part of the family, just free labor. His kids came first in every way, and he made sure I knew it. If I ever complained, I was told I was lucky to have a roof over my head. When I asked about my biological father, my mom would shut me down. Sometimes she'd say, "He's not a good man, it's better you don't know." Other times, she'd get outright angry, accusing me of being ungrateful for the family you have. I never got a straight answer, and to this day, I have no idea who he is. Despite everything, I did well in school. I had big plans to go to college, maybe even get a scholarship. But when the time came, my mom and stepdad told me they wouldn't give me a cent. Not because they couldn't, they just didn't want to. They said it was selfish to leave when they needed me at home to help with the younger kids. I said no. They called me a traitor to the family. My mom cried and said she couldn't believe I would abandon her. My stepdad told me if I left, I shouldn't bother coming back. That was fine by me. I moved out at 19, crashed on a friend's couch for months, and worked every hour I could to save up for a tiny apartment. The last time I saw my mom in person, she showed up at my work out of nowhere. She caused a scene, yelling about how I was hiding my baby from her. I didn't even have a baby. I was holding a friend's newborn in a Facebook photo the week before, and apparently that was proof enough for her. I laughed it off then, figuring she was just being dramatic for attention. That was almost 6 years ago. I've been no contact ever since. No calls, no visits, no texts. She's tried to reach me through extended family, but I've kept my boundaries firm. Now, word is getting back to me that she's going through a hard time and needs me to be a good daughter. I'm not getting the full details yet, just hints and gossip from relatives I barely talk to. I do know she's been telling people I'm cruel for turning my back on her, especially now. Some have said I should just talk to her and see what's going on. But I know her. If I open that door even an inch, she'll barge through and pull me right back into the same manipulative mess I escaped from. And I can't afford that. Not emotionally, not financially, and certainly not while I'm killing myself working two jobs to stay afloat in college. That's my reality. That's why I'm not picking up the phone. And if history is any guide, whatever's going on with her now is probably something she brought on herself. I can't save her from that. And I'm not going to try. TLDR. My mom used me as free childcare for years, refused to help me go to college because she wanted me to keep raising her kids, and went no contact when I moved out. Now she's going through a hard time, but I won't break no contact. And some people think that makes me a jerk. Update. My mother is suing me for access to a child that doesn't exist. So I guess I finally know what this hard time is all about. It's not a health scare. It's not financial trouble. It's not even some vague family emergency like I half suspected. No, my mother is suing me in family court for grandparent visitation rights to a child that I don't have. I found out because a thick envelope arrived at my apartment from a law office I didn't recognize. Inside was a stack of legal paperwork, complete with my name as the defendant. At first, I thought it was a mistake. like maybe they'd sent this to the wrong person. But nope, my mother's name was listed as the petitioner. And right there in black and white, petitioner requests court-ordered visitation with minor grandchild currently in respondent's custody. I sat there on my couch, staring at the words, my brain short-circuiting. What minor grandchild? I don't have kids. I've never been pregnant. I've never even lived with a partner who had kids. I flipped through the rest of the papers and it just kept getting more surreal. My mother's affidavit claimed that I had secretly given birth sometime in the last 2 years and was intentionally alienating her from the child. She listed my pattern of deceit, citing examples like refusing to share important family milestones and changing her phone number to avoid contact. She even included evidence. Exhibit A? A screenshot from Facebook. Me holding my friend's newborn at a birthday barbecue from 6 years ago. Exhibit B? A blurry candid from someone else's Instagram where I was at the park with my college classmate's toddler. That's it. That's the smoking gun. I called the courthouse to make sure this was real. The clerk confirmed. Yes, a petition had been filed under my name. Yes, there was a hearing scheduled in 3 weeks. And yes, I would need to respond if I didn't want the court to assume the allegations were true. I think I sat in silence for a full 10 minutes after hanging up. My mom had always been manipulative, but this was something else entirely. When I told my best friend, she said, "You know what this is, right? She's not doing this because she actually believes you have a kid. She's doing this because she's mad you went no contact. And she finally found a way to drag you into her mess where you have to deal with her." And yeah, that sounds exactly like her. I wish I could say I was shocked, but honestly, I'm more exhausted than anything. I work 2 jobs. I take classes full-time. I barely have time to eat and sleep. Now I have to find a lawyer to defend me against a completely fabricated claim, all because my mom saw a couple of photos online and decided she's a victim. Extended family is, of course, split. My aunt texted me, saying she doesn't believe my mom, but that I should just go to the hearing and clear things up so it's over with. My uncle says it's weird I've been so private about my life and that maybe she's just worried. And then there's my stepdad, who left me a charming voicemail about how I've broken your mother's heart and that family is supposed to share their blessings. I guess in his mind, me working 70 hours a week while getting a degree is a blessing I'm keeping from her. I've already contacted a legal aid clinic through my university. They were stunned, to put it mildly. Apparently, it's not unheard of for grandparents to petition for visitation, but those cases usually involve actual children whose parents are withholding access, not imaginary kids conjured out of a psychic vision and a blurry Facebook photo. Oh, did I mention the psychic? Yeah. Buried in her affidavit is a line about how she consulted with a spiritual advisor who confirmed she had a grandchild. My lawyer said that won't hold up in court. Obviously. But it sure makes her look unhinged on paper. I know some people will say, just go to court, say you don't have a child, and it'll be fine. But if you've ever dealt with a truly manipulative person, you know it's never that simple. She's not going to stop. If she loses this case, she'll find another angle, another accusation, another way to try to control me. The scariest part? She knows where I live now. That's the part that's making it hard to sleep. So, yeah, that's where we are. My mother is suing me for visitation with a non-existent child. I wish this was a joke. I wish I could laugh about it. But right now, all I can think about is how much time, energy, and money this is going to drain out of a life I'm already barely holding together. TLDR. My mom's hard time is that she's suing me in family court for grandparent visitation rights to a child I do not have. Her evidence is a 6-year-old Facebook photo of me holding a friend's baby and a psychic reading. Update 2. My mother took the stand in court. It was worse than I imagined. The hearing was today, and I feel like I just got hit by a bus made of pure nonsense. I showed up early with the attorney from my university's legal aid program. We had prepped for every possible angle, proving I had no child, showing my apartment lease, 1 bedroom, no dependents listed, Pay stubs, school records, even a letter from my doctor confirming I'd never been pregnant. Honestly, I thought the whole thing would be over in 10 minutes. But my mother came ready to perform. She walked into the courtroom wearing a flowy purple dress and one of those big crystal necklaces. Her hair was teased up, makeup caked on, and she had an actual binder under her arm. When she spotted me, she gasped loudly, like she'd just discovered I was alive after being presumed dead for years, and then dabbed at her eyes with the tissue. The judge started by asking her to explain why she was petitioning for visitation rights. She launched into a speech about the sacred bond between grandmother and grandchild, except she kept using phrases like, "My grandbaby is out there somewhere, and I have been cruelly denied my divine right." My lawyer and I exchanged a glance that basically said, "Oh no, she's leaning in on the psychic thing." And lean in she did. She told the judge she had consulted a spiritual advisor who had confirmed I gave birth to a healthy baby boy 2 years ago. According to her, I had gone into hiding to punish her for past misunderstandings. Translation: years of free childcare and emotional neglect. She claimed the Facebook photo and the park picture were recent, and that I had been parading the child in front of strangers while depriving his loving grandmother of contact. The judge interrupted more than once to ask for actual evidence. Each time, she'd say something like, "Your Honor, I feel it in my soul." Or, "The psychic said the baby has my eyes." At one point, she tried to introduce a printed-out astrological chart as Exhibit C. My lawyer actually had to object on the grounds that the document was not relevant to the existence of an actual human child. When it was my turn, my attorney kept it short and factual. I do not have a child. I have never had a child. The photos she submitted are from years ago and clearly show other people's children. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment. I work 2 jobs and attend college full-time. We submitted my medical records, lease, and statements from the friends whose children were in the photos. The judge took one look at the timestamps and said, "These photos are clearly from years ago. They cannot be used to establish current custody of a minor child." You'd think that would end it. Instead, my mother stood up, unprompted, and started yelling about how you can't trust paperwork, and doctors are part of the cover-up. She actually pointed at me and said, "You're lying under oath because you hate me, and one day that little boy will grow up to resent you for keeping us apart." The judge had to tell her to sit down. Twice. By the end, the judge ruled in my favor, obviously, and dismissed the petition with prejudice, meaning she can't file the same claim again. But he also warned her that filing frivolous lawsuits can result in fines and other penalties. She muttered something about fighting the good fight as she left the courtroom. Walking out, I thought maybe this would be the end of it. Then I got home and found a Facebook message request from a random account with no profile picture. You can hide the truth in court, but you can't hide it from the universe. No prize for guessing who that was. The worst part? Now that she's seen me in person for the first time in years, I know she's not going to drop this. She's tasted just enough attention to keep going, even if she can't use the court system the same way again. I've already told my building manager to keep an eye out for her. I'm thinking about getting a P.O. box and maybe a security camera for my door. I'm tired. So tired. But at least the legal side is over for now. TLDR. Court was a circus. My mother doubled down on the psychic grandchild fantasy, tried to submit an astrological chart as evidence, and accused me of lying under oath. Case dismissed, but I don't think this is over. Update 3. The court said no. My mom decided to take it public. When I said I didn't think this was over, I was unfortunately right. It's been 2 weeks since the hearing. Legally, she can't try the same grandchild case again, but that doesn't mean she's done making my life miserable. If anything, she's gotten bolder. It started with phone calls, not to me, but to my jobs. My boss at the cafe pulled me aside one morning and asked, do you have a kid you're hiding from your family?" Apparently, my mother had called, introduced herself as my estranged mother, and claimed I was abandoning my 2-year-old to strangers while I partied every night. She even hinted I was stealing from the cash register to fund my lifestyle. Luckily, my boss knows me well enough to roll her eyes and hang up. But still, she called my workplace. That's a new low. Then she moved on to my other job at the campus library. This time, she told my supervisor that she was trying to stage an intervention for me because I was neglecting my son and spiraling into addiction. My supervisor forwarded me the voicemail, and it was honestly embarrassing. My mother's voice cracked dramatically like she was on the verge of tears, talking about her poor grandbaby and how cold I'd become. When neither job fired me or gave her information, she changed tactics. One afternoon, I got a text from my college roommate from freshman year, someone I haven't spoken to in 4 years. It just said, "Hey, your mom's on Facebook telling people you abandoned your kid and moved to another state. Is everything okay?" I checked, and sure enough, there it was. A big, emotional public post about how her daughter ran away with her child and was keeping him from a loving family. She even uploaded the same Facebook photo she tried to use in court, the one from 6 years ago of me holding my friend's newborn. She claimed it was the last time she saw her grandson. The comments were a mix of distant relatives offering thoughts and prayers, and random acquaintances saying things like, if she did this to her own mother, imagine what kind of mother she is to that child. A couple of people called her out, pointing out that the photo was years old and that her story didn't make sense. But my mom just blocked them and kept going. Then came the in-person stuff. One night, I was closing up at the cafe when I saw her car parked across the street. She wasn't even trying to be subtle. She was sitting in the driver's seat, sunglasses on, at 9 o'clock at night. I told my manager, who walked me to my car. By the time we got outside, she had driven off, but my stomach was in knots the whole way home. A few days later, one of my classmates told me she saw my mom in the campus library, asking around for me. According to her, my mom claimed she was reconnecting with me and just needed to know my class schedule. Thankfully, no one gave her anything, but it's terrifying to know she's physically showing up in my spaces now. Extended family is still split. Some are ignoring her, some are convinced she's having a breakdown, and a few are just eating it up, messaging me to do the right thing and let her see her grandchild before it's too late. I've stopped replying to all of them. I've also filed a police report for harassment. The officer I spoke to was sympathetic but blunt. We can't stop her from talking about you unless it becomes threatening or defamatory to the point where it affects your safety or livelihood. I guess calling my jobs and spreading lies isn't enough yet. The thing that stings the most is how much energy this is draining from me. I'm already juggling 2 jobs and a full course load. Now I'm also constantly on edge, checking over my shoulder, bracing for the next stunt. I don't even feel safe walking home alone anymore. I know some people will ask why I don't just sit down and talk to her. But you can't reason with someone who's created a whole alternate reality in their head and decided to live in it. If I went to meet her, she'd probably take a selfie with me and post it online with some caption like, "Finally reunited with my daughter and grandson." So for now, I'm sticking to no contact, documenting everything, and keeping my friends and coworkers in the loop. TLDR. My mom has been harassing my jobs, posting lies on Facebook, and even showing up at my work and campus to find my non-existent child. She's escalating outside the court system now, and I'm just trying to stay one step ahead. Update 4. She tried to get my apartment searched. I honestly didn't think she could top herself after the Facebook smear campaign and showing up at my jobs. I was wrong. It was last Thursday night. I had just finished a long day, class in the morning, shift at the library, and then closing at the cafe. I was microwaving leftover pasta when there was a loud knock at my door. Through the peephole, I saw 2 uniformed police officers. My stomach dropped. When I opened the door, one of them asked, "Ma'am, do you live alone?" I said yes, and he explained they'd received a report that a small child was being neglected in this apartment, crying for hours without supervision. It didn't take a detective to figure out who made the call. I let them in immediately. They looked around, saw the complete absence of children's belongings, and noted the fridge stocked with exactly the sort of random adult student food you'd expect. Ramen, takeout containers, too much coffee creamer. I showed them my lease, my ID, and, for good measure, my bedroom with a single bed and absolutely no space for a crib. It was over in minutes. One of the officers actually apologized, saying, "We get false reports sometimes, but we have to check, just in case." I asked if they could tell me who called it in. They couldn't officially confirm, but one of them said, "Let's just say the name sounded familiar from the paperwork you filed 2 weeks ago." So, yeah, she's now moved on to false reports to the police. I don't know if she thought this would scare me into giving her what she wants, or if she genuinely believed she could somehow catch me hiding a baby. Either way, this crossed a line. The next morning, I went back to the police station with my harassment report and asked to add this incident. The officer at the desk told me that repeated false reports could qualify as criminal harassment and potentially carry penalties if they could prove intent to harass. He also suggested I look into a restraining order. The thing is, I've been avoiding that step. Not because I think she'll change, she won't, but because I know the moment she's served with any kind of official keep away order, she's going to go nuclear online. She thrives on attention, and a restraining order would be a badge of honor in her mind. She'd spin it as, "My daughter is so scared of me finding out the truth. She's silencing me." And yet, I can't keep living like this. Every knock at my door makes my pulse spike. Every unknown number feels like another ambush. I'm tired of telling my friends, "If you get a weird message from my mom, just ignore it." In the meantime, she's still active on Facebook, now claiming I'm under investigation and the police are closing in. Some gullible relatives believe her. Others have quietly reached out to me with variations of, "I'm so sorry you're going through this. I had no idea she was like this." A part of me wishes this was the point where she hit rock bottom and realized she'd gone too far. But she's not wired that way. In her mind, she's the hero of this story. The brave grandmother fighting against injustice. Any consequence I try to enforce will only feed that narrative. So here's my plan. I'm meeting with my legal aid attorney next week to discuss a restraining order. I'm installing a doorbell camera. I'm setting my social media to the strictest privacy settings possible. I'm drafting a message to extended family making it clear. You can believe her or you can believe me. But if you spread her lies to me, you're blocked. I'm not going to let her make me feel unsafe in my own home. If that means officially cutting her off in the eyes of the law, so be it. The kicker? I heard from a mutual acquaintance that she's telling people she's writing her own account of what really happened and is going to post it online. If she actually does it, I'll bet it's going to be a masterclass in revisionist history. At this point, I almost hope she does, because nothing shows her true colors faster than hearing her try to explain herself. TLDR. My mom made a false police report claiming a child was being neglected in my apartment. Cops came, found nothing, and left. I'm now seriously considering a restraining order because she's clearly not going to stop on her own. Title: Final update. The restraining order is official. It's done. I filed for and was granted a restraining order against my mother. The hearing was quick. My legal aid attorney came with me and we presented everything. The court case over the grandchild that doesn't exist. The Facebook posts. The calls to my jobs. Her showing up on campus. The false police report. The judge didn't even need much convincing. When we got to the part about the bogus CPS-style call, he raised an eyebrow and asked, "And there has never been a child?" My attorney said no, never. The judge shook his head, signed the order, and that was it. 1 year, no contact. When the order was served to her, she immediately went online to spin it. Within hours, her Facebook was filled with posts about government corruption, gag orders, and a family secret they're trying to hide. She claimed the judge was in on it, and that the restraining order was proof she was close to the truth. Some relatives ate it up, others unfriended her. A few messaged me privately to say they're sorry they ever believed her. I've decided not to respond to any of them. This isn't about proving myself to people anymore. It's about keeping my peace. Of course, she tried to push the boundaries right away. 2 days after the order, I got a friend request from an account with no profile picture and the name Grandma Loves You. The only mutual friend? My mom. I didn't accept it. I sent a screenshot to my lawyer and we documented it. The thing is, I thought getting the restraining order would feel like the end of the story. In some ways, it does. I can finally open my front door without bracing for her to be there. I can go to work without worrying she's inside trying to stage an intervention. But in other ways, it's just the start of a new chapter where she's still out there, talking to whoever will listen, building her fantasy world. The difference now is that she can't pull me into it without breaking the law. And that, honestly, is worth everything. I've changed my routines. I walk home with friends after late shifts. I've added a deadbolt to my apartment door. My doorbell camera sends every clip straight to my phone. I even started journaling about the whole ordeal, partly to process it, partly so if she ever tries anything again, I have a running record. I don't know if she'll actually stop. I don't know if a year from now I'll have to go back to court and renew the order. But I do know this. I am not giving her another inch of my life. For anyone reading this who's in a similar situation, where a parent or relative is so far gone into their own narrative that facts don't matter, please know you are allowed to protect yourself. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, especially when all they've done is burn you in the past. And if she really does make that Reddit account she's been threatening to create to tell her side, well, let's just say I have my popcorn ready. TLDR. I got the restraining order. She's spinning it as proof of a conspiracy against her, but legally she can't contact me for a year. I feel safer now, and I'm committed to keeping her out of my life, no matter what fantasy she clings to.